All right. Hi, everyone. We are from the Office of Student Wellness. I'm Allie. I'm the Director of Student Wellness. I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy Baden. I'm the Outreach Nurse Educator in the Office of Student Wellness, and I use she, her pronouns as well.
Hi, and I'm Barbara. I'm the dietitian nutritionist. I use she, her pronouns. We are so excited to be celebrating our Wellesley graduates.
All of us in the Office of Student Wellness believe that health and well-being are multidimensional and include physical, social, spiritual, occupational, emotional, and intellectual aspects. It is our hope that after students leave Wellesley, they will continue to develop their personal, intellectual, social, spiritual, and ethical selves as part of their lifelong wellness journey. Today, we're going to speak to answer some of these questions about what your journey of wellness might look like for you after Wellesley. So many factors impact our ability to be well: our work, where we live, relationships, who we live with, family, age, responsibilities, identity, culture. You're probably familiar with some of this already. As with all journeys, there will be times when it will be important to pause and take stock of your own situation and make adjustments in response to changes in circumstance or environments. Today, we're going to help you reflect on some of that. So starting off, we're going to chat with Nancy. So Nancy, can you share some work-life balance tips for students who are beginning a new job?
Great question. Thanks, Allie. So as far as work-life balance goes, I would say the number one thing you want to do is be sure to allow yourself to set boundaries that honor your work and your life balance. And some of these examples include things like trying not to take your work home. Occasionally is okay, but do not make this a regular occurrence. Your free time is valuable in your overall wellness and happiness, and you deserve it. Your work will be of higher quality when you follow this practice. And if you're unable to complete your work while you are at your hours of business, then check in with your supervisor about this. Another important thing is avoiding reading work-related emails on your day off. I mean, if it's something very important and it's, they can call you or, signal it as a very important email, but in general, try to value your time off for yourself. Keeping to-do lists and prioritizing completing difficult tasks during your most productive hours is huge. So if I know that I do my best work between 10 and 12 a.m., then I'm going to make sure that I look at my task and see what needs to be done and do those things during those times as well. And then try to end your day with a list of things that you want to accomplish for the next day. It just kind of starts you off with already knowing what you have expected. And then I always use a daily planner or a calendar so that I know I can keep track of meetings, of projects, of things that I might need to do or to get, and just planning ahead to make sure I'm meeting my deadlines. So that's really crucial. And then, especially in a virtual world, you don't always get to see the people that you might want to ask questions to as if you were in an office with them all the time. So I always try to keep a running list of questions that I have for specific people so that when I do meet with them, I can use my time wisely and theirs as well and answer my questions while I have them. And then making sure that you use your vacation and your personal days. A lot of times people tend to forget about this and they skimp on themselves taking time off, and it's really important. Not only is your quality of life affected, but also your work performance improves when you are well rested. So that's important. And then making sure you make time for movement in your day, especially if you're sitting in a chair all day and you're not getting much exercise. Try to aim for a minimum of 30 minutes of movement per day, and because it circulates a higher level of oxygen to your brain, which improves your focus, your memory, your concentration. Physical activity also enhances your quality of sleep. It burns off cortisol, which we know is that stress hormone, and it improves mood. So very important. I try to take a walk at lunch when I can, and if it's the winter, fortunately, I have a staircase right near my office, so sometimes I'll just do like a power stair climb up those stairs just to get the blood pumping, and it really helps. When I come back to my office, I'm ready to kind of tackle things again. So that's really important. But even if you need to join a gym or just join a yoga class, whatever it is that you can do to make sure that you're getting some movement into your day. Another thing is sticking to a regular sleep schedule. So definitely aiming for your 7 to 9 hours of sleep, but trying to make sure you're falling asleep and waking up around the same time of day is very important. It really affects your cognitive functioning, and it helps to keep your immune system strong, and it decreases anxiety and depression. And it also helps to minimize cravings for junk food. So I always try to make sure that I prioritize my sleep. And then just a couple of other little things is just try to do some home upkeep during the week as far as, balancing your home. I try to do like some laundry or some cleaning, some maintenance during the week. So I'm not having to do it all on the weekends. So you want to be able to enjoy that time. And then make sure you live within your means, prioritizing connecting with your loved ones and making memories. Maybe saving up for some of those bucket items that you want to get to. But really important to make sure you live within your means. And then just as a nurse here, I want to make sure that we pass along some quick health reminders to our graduating seniors. The Wellesley College health insurance expires on August 14th. So if you are a senior and you have the Wellesley College Blue Cross health insurance, be very mindful of that date. August 14th. If you are on your parents' health insurance, you can stay on that until you're age 26. If not, then it's time to start finding some new healthcare coverage. And you can do that on healthcare.gov. And that's if you're not offered coverage by an employer or through, maybe if you're going on to grad school, getting it there. Another thing to remember is if you get any of your medications through the health service, request a 3-month supply of any refills of meds that you currently receive before you leave, so that you'll have those for a while. And then print out a copy of your medical records and immunizations from health services, because you'll probably need those definitely for grad school. You may need them for an employer, and it's just good to have for your general records. Because once you leave Wellesley, you'll lose your email and access to that portal system. And if you're 21, consider getting your first pap smear screening while you're here before you leave. And then lastly is finding a new primary care physician in the area that you'll be relocating to. If you're leaving Boston area, you're going to need to find a new primary care physician. So schedule a visit to meet them, because sometimes it can take up to 3 months to get an appointment. So a couple little tips there. So next we're going to move on to nutrition. And so I'm going to talk with Barbara Southcote, our nutritionist. So Barbara, what are some nutrition tips that you have that you'd like to share with students?
Sure. Thank you, Nancy. So when it comes to feeding yourself and to feeding others, I want you to throw away the rule book. There are no good or bad foods. There is no right or wrong way to eat. The old approach of accepting restrictive and punishing diets as the norm and shaming people into losing weight in the name of health not only does not work, but it actually makes people less healthy. It is important that everyone, regardless of body weight, engage in healthy behaviors simply because they are good for you. Just as brushing your teeth is good for the long-term health of your teeth, so too are healthy habits. Good idea in boosting your immunity. You want to try to eat a balanced diet that contains adequate energy, fruits and vegetables whenever possible. While there is strong evidence that supplements improve immune function in populations that are truly malnourished, replenishing with higher than necessary amounts of vitamins and minerals is not going to make the immune system function any better. Generally, taking a multivitamin is considered safe, although there is no evidence that any supplement is a silver bullet that is going to boost your immune response. Stay hydrated by eating plenty of fruits and vegetables and drinking water throughout the day. Being careful not to share cups. Urine should be light yellow in color. It is normal for urine to be darker first thing in the morning. When it comes to figuring out how much to eat, assessing your hunger can be helpful. For example, ask yourself, what are you hungry for? A meal, a snack, a drink of water, an activity, or a change of scenery? We all experience hunger differently on different days. There is no right way to experience hunger. Some days and some meals, we may experience tremendous hunger, whereas other days, especially when we are really busy and preoccupied, we may not feel hungry. When you are hungry, choose an amount and types of food that will fill you up. Be guided by how your body feels and responds to food, rather than what you think you are supposed to eat. On those days you are super busy or distracted, it may be difficult for your body to accurately communicate hunger signals. It is important to be particularly mindful these days and nourish your body every 4 hours or so with foods you enjoy. Choose foods that are both filling and satisfying. Foods that are filling are high in fiber, such as fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains, and foods containing protein, such as meats, fish, dairy, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Foods that are satisfying are foods you simply enjoy and want to eat based on smell, sight, taste, texture, temperature, and/or an emotional response the food elicits. Strive for balance whenever possible by choosing foods from different food groups and by eating a rainbow of colors. For those of you who are super busy and often skip meals because you forget to eat or rarely experience hunger because of stress or a jam-packed schedule, it may be helpful to make a meal or snack schedule and include 2 or 3 times each day to eat a meal. Adding notifications on your phone can also be helpful.
Thank you, Barbara.
So Barbara, do you have any tips for students who might be living on their own for the first time, specifically around meal prep and grocery shopping?
Oh, great question. Absolutely. I have several tips, as a matter of fact. It's very helpful to purchase reusable food containers and take leftovers to work for lunch. Depending on where you live, you might grow your own food or look for a CSA in your community. Buy raw and whole foods in bulk, as these items usually cost less than pre-cooked and ready-to-eat foods. Buy staples in bulk, as unit costs are less. When comparing the price of brands, be sure to compare the unit price. Keep in mind, grocery stores often place items they want you to purchase at eye height. Often less expensive generic brands are located above or below eye height. Plan your meals around foods in season and local grown foods. Not only are in-season locally grown foods less expensive, they have a smaller carbon footprint. Plan your meals around foods on sale. Go to your grocery store's website to review sale items when planning meals and your grocery list for the week. When you do cook a meal, double the recipe and freeze the leftovers in individual containers. When you freeze food, be sure to mark the date with a Sharpie either directly on the container or on a piece of tape. Keep tea bags in your bag and a reusable insulated cup to enjoy a hot beverage away from home, or purchase a cup of hot water in a single-use cup for significantly less money. Avoid grocery shopping when you are hungry. When planning meals, it can be helpful to keep a running grocery list on your phone or next to, or on a list that's taped to your refrigerator or with a little magnet on your refrigerator. This will mean fewer trips to the grocery store. Before unpacking groceries, I always like to remove all the older items from my refrigerator or just move them to the front. And putting all the freshly purchased grocery items at the back. So you use the older items first, and this helps to reduce food waste. Take a look at your schedule and decide whether you want to set aside one day each week to cook and then freeze foods, or prepare foods when you are going to eat, or perhaps a combination of both. You can create menus around foods in your fridge and pantry. While there are several great cookbooks available to purchase, there are endless free online options. If you do own a cookbook, offer to do a cookbook exchange with a friend or family members. It is always a good idea to keep canned and frozen foods and grains on hand, such as canned tomatoes, beans, and tuna, frozen vegetables and fruit, flour, oats, nuts, seeds, and rice. Other pantry items to have on hand include oils, vinegars, dried herbs, spices, and vegetable broth.
Great, thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome. Allie, we know that students graduating may have the theme of transitions on their minds. What are some tips around caring for oneself in times of change and transition?
Excellent question. So over the course of one's life, there will be periods of change, transition, and stress. Hello, pandemic resiliency. We've all been going through this past year. As you think ahead to transitioning to graduation and life after Wellesley, when times of stress or change present themselves, these are moments to turn to your most basic needs. As Nancy and Barbara just outlined, nourishing yourself with the basics, food, water, rest, and sleep as you're able to, those are the most basic ways that we can care for ourselves. Taking care of those basic needs as best as you can will prevent you from burning out and sustaining your ability to function.
So how is this all related to emotional well-being?
It's a great question. And this is really how we approach wellness in the Office of Student Wellness. Our mind and body really have this beautifully intricate relationship. When we nourish our whole self, we flourish more fully. And a key way to do so is practicing self-care. These kind of preventative measures to make sure that we don't get to that burnout stage. So next up, I'm going to cover my top tips for caring for more well you. First and foremost is acknowledging and attending to your feelings. Thoughts can affect how you feel, which in turn can affect how we behave. By becoming more mindful of our thought patterns, we can reflect on and attend to our feelings. This then allows us to feel more in tune to our bodies and minds and work towards a more integrated mind and body relationship, allowing us to notice when we experience a range of emotions. The next step, Nancy kind of alluded to this already, are these healthy boundaries. And I can't emphasize this enough, as you may have already experienced at Wellesley, but certainly as you transition after Wellesley, you may have changing responsibilities, changing time constraints, and ways in which you're able to spend your time and energy. Your time is a very special resource, and setting boundaries is an important part of caring for yourself. Boundaries are more than just how you spend your time with others. It could also include your social time, your digital usage, your emotional time. Consider, how do you invest in your relationships? How do you spend your time consuming certain media? And what control do you have over setting healthier boundaries for a more balanced you? Next up, I want you to reflect on your resilience. Have you ever reflected on the idea that you have survived 100% of your worst days so far? You are so strong and resilient. Consider, what have you done in the past to help cultivate this resilience? Tap into those healthy coping skills now to create a coping skills plan for yourself in the future. If you're looking for ways to boost those coping skills, here are some ideas. Though difficult at times, maintain a sense of humor and perspective, focusing on the positive wherever possible. For some folks, this means keeping a gratitude journal to jot down just 1 to 2 things that you're grateful for throughout the day. Structuring some fun and absorbing activities such as reading, meditation, fun movement like yoga or dance, and making space for joy, not forgetting to have enjoyable things like videos and music, art that connect you to community and loved ones. Making sure that you're spending some mindful time in nature, engaging your senses and noticing the colors, sounds, smells, and textures all around you. And if you're unable to be outside, even connecting to nature virtually has been shown to improve our well-being. For some folks, finding comfort in our spiritual and personal beliefs is also a very big part of our self-care. And finally, as you transition beyond Wellesley, maybe setting up that professional care with a mental health resource, or as Nancy alluded to, getting set up with a healthcare resource. So putting in those foundations now could set you up for success later down the road. And finally, another component of self-care that can be helpful is mindfulness. And this is the practice of being aware of your mind and body in the present moment. This is particularly helpful because it doesn't require any tools, it's accessible in any space, and it helps take you from a worried mind caught in the what-ifs of the future or the should-haves of the past to the present moment of right now. It's a simple exercise that you can do any moment you feel overwhelmed or anxious. So I thought that we could perhaps end this little session together by practicing. So Nancy, Barbara, and I are going to close our eyes. We're going to encourage you to join us, and we're going to find a comfortable spot in our seats. And just in the next few moments, we're going to connect to our sensory experiences. Even though we're connecting digitally over Zoom, I invite you to connect to the sound of my voice. And as you're doing so, maybe you're noticing your breathing slowing. We'll take a collective breath in through our nose and holding that, and sighing it out through our mouth. And now notice any surface that's connecting to your body. Is it a chair beneath you? Is it a bed and pillow supporting your head after a long day? Is it the grass under your legs? Are there any smells in the room around you? Perhaps some coffee or tea. Do you feel the wind or perhaps a soft blanket? And as you begin to notice these senses around you, come more into your body, more in sync with your breath. We'll take another breath together in through our nose and sighing it out together. Then in our own time, we can come back into the space, open our eyes. And again, you can practice this anytime. Could be before bed as you're trying to fall asleep. Could be when you're riding the train into work. It could be while you're at your office, perhaps before a big meeting, if there's some anxiety that you may be feeling or discomfort you may be experiencing. And it can just be ways, you don't even have to close your eyes, but just ways that you're connecting with your body and your breath that can help you feel more in tune to that present focus. So again, we want to thank you for sharing your time with us. We hope that you've learned some tips for a more well you after Wellesley. And regardless of where you are always welcome to check in with us and check out the resources that we have put together from the Office of Student Wellness. We wish you well. Take good care.